The 2026 World Cup is upon us. A bloated format and a rather questionable set of political circumstances aren't enough to dull the giddy excitement of an upcoming festival of free-to-air football. One of my favourite elements of a World Cup is that of surprise. You can see games and players that you would never otherwise see grace your screen. Joel Campbell and Christian Gamboa become names forever cemented in your heart as incredible footballers, despite doing absolutely nothing in their club careers, all because as a football fan, you are contractually obligated to watch a 2 a.m. solo broadcast of Costa Rica against Uruguay, led by a half-cut former Ireland coach who gets sidetracked every 3 minutes with tangents about his time managing the Faroe Islands and how he once tried to naturalise Brian Ruiz for the Ireland team.
Is there any other player in the Premier League? Hasn't he the funniest shape of any player in the Premier League?
With 48 teams, there is a lot of potential cannon fodder, so today we're going to try and work out who is the biggest underdog of them all. We're talking here about who is most likely to end up putting in a performance worthy of no points and a goal conceded tally in the tens. I have one team very strongly in mind, but before that, let's quickly rattle off some of the other teams you're bound to hear in the coming weeks the underdog moniker attached to their names. Some punters are bound to simply turn to the FIFA rankings, pick out New Zealand as the team with the worst ranking, and call it a day. That would be failing to take into account just how flawed the FIFA rankings are though. New Zealand are mainly at the bottom of the pile because of how terrible their OFC opposition is. Their squad is nothing to write home about, but they've still got Chris Wood up top, and an unspectacular League One level flavour to the rest of the side. With the defensive setup, they could easily grind out a point against either Egypt or Iran, two of the most gut-wrenchingly negative sides in every international tournament. They certainly won't embarrass themselves. Panama should hope to put in a bit of a better showing than last time, where they suffered at the hands of England and prime Belgium. They got through their qualifying group with a minimum of fuss and have put up a decent showing in some recent friendlies, managing to get the better of South Africa and only losing 1-0 to Mexico. They have a solid squad, and some of them have now gotten Champions League experience, so they're far from the worst in the tournament as they were in 2018. They'll give a catastrophically messy Ghana and a waning Croatia a decent game by all accounts, and Reddit comedians can once again all descend to laugh ever so tactfully at the name Fidel Escobar. Plus, Panama have a brilliant banter-era Leeds manager in charge. Cape Verde belie their 500,000 person population with a very solid side, particularly thanks to the power of Portuguese, and also Dutch, and also Irish naturalisation. They beat out Cameroon to a World Cup spot in qualifying, and have twice been to AFCON quarterfinals in recent editions. They've also drawn recently in games against full-strength Egypt, Iran, and Finland. Definitely not to be taken lightly, although the difficulty of a group with Spain and Uruguay counts against them. I don't see them leaving that final game against Saudi Arabia empty-handed, however. Curacao and Haiti feel like similar cases. Their whole stories are better covered in a proper video, but they are solid and unspectacular squads, built off heavy naturalisation drivers from the Netherlands and France respectively. Haiti feels like the slightly stronger side now on paper, but they also have a harder group. Curacao have had some turmoil internally, but they've now done the right thing and reappointed Dick Advocat. Neither side should disgrace themselves here. You'll probably have noticed that I haven't talked about one continent in particular, the most overrepresented of them all, in the new 48-team system relative to their footballing ability. Of course, it's Asia. Uzbekistan, I actually think, are the best positioned out of the 4 Asian countries I'm going to single out here. It's really unfortunate that Qatari, the man primarily responsible for their spectacular qualification ahead of the UAE and Qatar, had to step down due to health problems. Instead, the rather unproven managerial figure of Fabio Cannavaro, who had a disastrous spell at Dinamo Zagreb in particular, takes the reins. Uzbekistan has quite a strong domestic league. Many of the players are homegrown and start for their respective clubs, and they've been allowed a very strong and unperturbed period of preparation for this tournament. They remind me a lot of a classic Iranian World Cup side stylistically, complete with an Ali Day-esque big man up front in the shape of Shomurodov, exactly the type of guy who would be the top scorer in the Turkish Super League. And of course they have Kusanov, who is turning out to be a quiet success for Man City, who should get stronger with age. They've got a good generation of young players in general, even reaching the last Olympics tournament. I think they'll get points on the board, and could even qualify with this new Mickey Mouse system and this beautiful kit reveal for the tournament with the disembodied heads that I've been playing in the background. I had the displeasure of watching Qatar playing against Ireland in a friendly just the other day, and they looked utterly awful, except for your man with the hair out in the wing, despite having a man advantage for a half of football. They only limped through an incredibly easy qualifying system, thanks in part to the fact that the AFC decided to have the fourth round group stage in Qatar, which is a problem that's getting worse and worse with FIFA. Just look at the Ronaldo suspension getting overturned for this World Cup. Their preparations have been disrupted significantly by the current events in the country. Even with a disproportionately easy group, I think their miserable 2022 showing will be repeated. Next, it unfortunately gets a little bit worse. It took 21 games for Iraq to make this tournament. Their final one involved overcoming Bolivia in the Intercontinental Playoffs after a grueling and emotional journey to Mexico. Graham Arnold is a great coach and has really embedded himself instantly in this side, even opting to live permanently in Iraq in the process. His effect on the team has been tangible. He has also bucked the trend of foreign Iraq managers failing in spectacular fashion and getting sacked after about 2 weeks. But I think that's where the positives stop. They're in an absolute group of death with France, Senegal and Norway, and I have a bad feeling they're going to get absolutely bulldozered, just owing simply to the lack of quality on display. It is the eternal international football managerial paradox. You can only be as good as the players at your disposal. You can't fashion better players out of thin air. Their new no-cap recruits from Finland, Germany and Sweden look like clutching at straws, and I think this could be a real struggle. They're not quite the worst of it though for me. My biggest underdog for the upcoming 2026 World Cup is Jordan. Don't get me wrong, they did well to advance immediately to the tournament, albeit from the easiest AFC third round qualifying group, and along the way they drew to bottom of the table Kuwait twice and managed to make it by virtue of Iraq shooting themselves in the foot at every conceivable opportunity. It's not a side that screams World Cup in any way, shape or form, and their manager has cut his teeth on Moroccan mid-table domestic football. You look at the squad and you will see the same Jordanian club names over and over again. Al Hussein, Al Wadat, Al Fasali. The Jordanian domestic scene is rather weak. They have a low coefficient, and in last season's AFC Champions League, no Jordanian team was even given the opportunity to qualify for the tournament. Some other players are dotted around the lower reaches of other Arab leagues. Selangor of Malaysia and FC Seoul in the K-League. Ibrahim Sabra has spent his season at Nikita Jelovic's Lokomotiva Zagreb, where he has lined out just 4 times. Their star man is Musa Al-Tamari of Rennes, but it's really hard to get your hopes up about a semi-accomplished League One winger being pitted against Argentina, Algeria and Austria with minimal support. He's occupying a position that feeds off the work of others, and in this day and age, he can't go win a game on his own like he does when he knocks in 3 against Pakistan. It's going to be an uphill battle in the extreme for Jordan, and I wish them well in their endeavours. I hope they prove me wrong, but I think they just about pip Iraq to the berth of being the biggest underdog in the tournament and the most likely to take a real all-round beating.